juniors, and welcome back to Computer Systems and Programming, Release 6. So a couple reminders before we go into this release. We have winter cohort coming up. LDF, for you, it's February 9th and 10th, and for Oneida, it's February 16th and 17th. So this release will be due after LDF's cohort, but it'll be due before Oneida's cohort, so make sure Oneida students, you have your homework in before cohort. Also, what's going to happen at winter cohort is mini marketplace presentations. I know they didn't happen last cohort, but this time they need to happen, so make sure you brush up on your presentations, maybe present to a friend so that you know you're really ready for the presentations that will happen bright and early on Saturday morning. So, going on to this release, which is due 2/14 or February 14th, which is a Thursday, so plan your schedules accordingly. We have Boolean logic, brainstorming uses of code, and then best practices. So I can talk about those in Canvas. So let's look at Canvas. First, I want to touch on the syllabus. So in our last release, we went over the first section of Unit 3, which is Identify and Understanding Code. And we completed the commenting and reading code. And so now we're going to go into Boolean logic. And this section is supposed to help you determine when something is true or false and understand Boolean logic more. For 3.3, the next section, which is brainstorming the uses of code, you'll be able to explain or identify situations that you can use code to solve that problem. And then moving on to Unit 4, which is coding best practices, we will go over some best practices, and you will learn to analyze as different strategies utilized in programming and develop skills used by professional programmers. So if we look at the actual release, we have the release 6 start here, which is the video you're watching currently. And then we have the Boolean logic, which will just be a short video going over the lesson on Boolean logic and trying to help you determine when something is true or false when coding different conditional statements. For brainstorming the uses of code, you're going to submit 5 ideas / problems that can be solved or helped by programming. So when you go to the submission page, you'll find the activity prompt that you can go and look at, and then it should show up just as a text entry. You'll just enter your 5 ideas and a little explanation of how they will help or how or what you want to accomplish with them, and then that's all you have to do for this. And if you need more explanation, you can watch the video to kind of get yourself grounded in what you're doing for this assignment. And then for best practices, you'll be just watching another video about best practices where I'll talk a little bit about GitHub and other programming practices, and then you'll add those to your cheat sheet as well. So then when you submit your cheat sheet, you should have 2 things on it. You should have your Boolean logic concepts, so concepts from Boolean logic, and then you'll also have concepts from best practices, just so that I know that you watched both the videos and that you took notes during it and were paying attention. So if we go back, are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, so I have to do the mini marketplace Saturday morning. Do I get to choose what order I get to go in, or how will we know who's going first or second or whatever?
So we will decide at cohort who will be going. So if there's volunteers, we'll probably go with the volunteers. Otherwise, we'll determine some other way via randomized numbers or something along that line.
So it looks like I just have 3 videos to watch this week and 2 things to submit. Is that correct, or did I miss something?
Yep, so you have 3 videos, which is the Boolean logic, brainstorming the uses of code, and then the
best practices?
Yeah, and then best practices, and then you'll just be submitting your 5 problems or ideas for code that you could solve with code, and then your cheat sheet, which should have a couple of concepts on it. All right, juniors, I'll see you later.